Welcome to Hear Story.
Hi everyone, my name is Angelina Lee and I'm a current junior at Hopkins School in New Haven, Connecticut.
Hi, my name is Ira. I'm a junior at Farmington High School.
Hi everyone, my name is Melinda and I'm currently a senior at Amity Regional High School in Woodbridge, Connecticut.
My name is Mantara Singh, and I'm a senior in the class of 2023 at the Morgan School.
Hi everyone, my name is Sabin Parikh. I'm a senior at Hopkins School in New Haven, Connecticut.
Hi, my name is Sirath, and I'm a senior at Farmington High School.
So, a little background of how and why I began engaging in the AAPI movement just stems from my early childhood and kind of the community that I was in growing up. So, it's probably not what you think, but I actually grew up in an area where I completely lacked a community of people who looked like me, had the same background, culture as I did. I felt completely isolated as a child. There was never a book I felt comfortable reading that I was able to share some sense of identity with. There was never a TV show I had the opportunity to watch, a celebrity. And I guess as a history buff, what really hit me the hardest was that in school, there was not one mention of someone who looked like me or had the same shared background as I did who was ever mentioned. We had our classic US history classes. Never once were the Asian Americans ever mentioned. And it really disappointed me. And I guess back then I didn't really feel disappointed, but as I grew up, being a history buff, thinking that I knew like everything about a certain topic, but then the one, or maybe not the one thing, but a big thing that I was missing was the facts on people like me. And that was really scary when I began to realize that. The fact that I learned so much about US history, have dove so deeply into it, yet knew nothing about Asian Americans, frightened me, to be frank. And so growing up, every library disappointed me, every teacher, every class. Someone like me who looked like me, had the same family structure, same family background was never mentioned. I lost pride in being Asian, and I used to think to myself, we are completely useless. We being Asians and Asian Americans, which is utterly impossible to actually think about now after being educated on topics and having the resources to be able to really dig in to the history of Asian Americans and Asians. And so everyone else felt like a hero. Everyone else was great. People who solved world issues. Everyone except me and except those like me. It made me feel completely lost to be thinking this way. I tried to scrap everything I knew from my family, everything I've taught by my parents, my grandparents, and I lost my identity for a good while. I had no idea who I was. And I get it, that's very common, especially sadly for minorities growing up in the US, but it really hit me hard. And so, kind of going back to my main idea here, my passion really comes and stems from realizing how important it is to have those opportunities and resources and those communities to be able to express yourself and be comfortable with your identity and develop who you are by learning from your family and your history. And so knowing that pain of losing your identity and knowing what it can do to one has made me strive to provide for those who had to go through what I had to provide for those, to even prevent similar situations from continuing on this pattern that we see in America and in Asian Americans today. I want to be here anywhere for the future generations to come to make sure that this problem is tackled, because even though it might not seem like a problem, because there are so many myths that swirl around on what it is to be Asian American, I want to make sure that it's tackled, and I want to be a part of that. So here it is. Here's story. This is what Here Story, that's this passion for Here Story, this is where it comes from. Just a personal story and true deep connection to this as well. I would absolutely not be who I am and how I think, how I learn, how I engage with the world if it wasn't for accepting my identity and nurturing it. And so I want to make sure that the future of Here Story is to provide. I want to highlight the word provide those communities, provide those building blocks for communities, providing those resources for education, resources for wellness, anything, honestly, to help my community grow and nurture and create this bond through all the separation that we have in this world, to have this bond. And so, yeah, I would absolutely love if you would want to be involved in these projects. I think it is truly crucial for building our nation and our future generations.
I started engaging in Asian American work after the pandemic, when I was really able to reconnect with my culture and realize that Asian American advocacy was something that I really valued. I joined Here Story because I thought that it was a way for AAPI youth to come together and focus on the problems that specifically matter to us. What matters most to me is dismantling the model minority myth within education specifically, and making sure that Asian students aren't viewed automatically as better and denied certain resources and help that they need to succeed. I hope that Here Story can accomplish this ability to connect youth AAPI voices and make people understand our stories and our perspective on these big issues, and therefore make sure that in the AAPI community, there's increased respect for youth voices and actual change can be made. Here Story is an amazing way to unite with other teens across Connecticut in order to get your voice out and get your story heard, and that is why you should join Here Story.
So my background on kind of like the AAPI movement comes from my parents. So my parents are both Chinese immigrants, and they both grew up in the countryside as agricultural farmers. And within their families, they were poor and no one had really gotten a college education or much of an education to begin with. And their kind of journey into the United States came through education, because through the national entrance exam, they were able to go to college and kind of escape that life of poverty that they had been in earlier, and then come to the United States for further education. And so the thing with my parents is that at home, they're always emphasizing the value of education and the value of kind of learning who I am as a person, because without kind of learning who I am as a person and learning my identity, I really don't have any grounding or foundation in my values. So based on my parents' experiences, I've always valued education as well as valued kind of learning about my history and where my parents came from. So my involvement within the greater AAPI community within Connecticut does stem from education. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I joined Connecticut Association of Schools Student Equity Advisory Board. And so basically what this board does is it gathers students from all across the state to kind of talk about different issues within the educational system, for example, like inequities in equipment for certain schools or kind of racial disparities. And by being a part of this committee, I was able to learn about the different school systems and how different students kind of went about their days throughout the state. And it really opened my eyes up to like the inequities and the problems that we face within our school systems. And one of the things I got really interested in was racial disparities, especially in the case of the African American and Latino studies. So this African American and Latino studies course was implemented, and it was implemented in order to kind of decide how students could learn about different races and different cultures, and many schools began offering this course. And so I was interested to see if this would also be the case for Asian American studies. So I was reading web articles online, and then in my junior year, my friend and I kind of got together because we were really passionate about this issue. And so I saw the name Dr. Jason Chong, all over these articles. And I felt the need to kind of reach out to him and see what this was all about. So I reached out to him, and he was very welcoming. And so Dr. Jason Chong is actually a professor at UConn, and he also heads the Make Us Visible Connecticut movement, which is a political movement that was trying to advance legislation to kind of pass a bill to allow the formation of an Asian American studies curriculum for schools. So kind of learning what he has learned throughout his journey and throughout his time teaching Asian American studies at UConn and also a variety of different places, I was able to kind of get insight into how education works and how a curriculum is built. And this really got me interested in joining Here Story because I wanted to be able to engage with different students, different Asian American students from different regions and also different parts of the state. And being together with this core group of individuals has been really powerful because we're able to kind of come together and make an impact together. And being together as students and organizing something, it's always really amazing just to kind of be engaged with students who are of my same age and also we're really passionate about the same issue of advancing Asian American culture and also bringing awareness to Asian American culture. And so in the future of Here Story, I really envision us kind of working towards creating a more equitable future and also helping other people become more aware of Asian American culture and history. And by doing this, we'll have a greater impact on the Asian American community so that people around the US and around the state will become more aware of what it means to be Asian American and at least be able to empathize with our experiences. So currently within Here Story, I am part of the education committee and I work with ERA to create these podcasts and also create other educational resources. And throughout the year, we're focusing on creating more of these podcast episodes, as well as putting together resources to help people who would like to learn more about Asian American culture, as well as different issues going on within the greater AAPI community. So I encourage anybody who's really interested in this issue to join Here Story and give it a try.
I'm a member of the Sikh faith, so faith-based conversation and awareness is really important to me. I've worked with the Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund, and I've also spoken at the Parliament of the World's Religions about what it means to be a Sikh woman in America today. I will be speaking at the Parliament again this year about youth leadership and interfaith dialogue. As an avid reader, Asian American representation in literature is incredibly important to me. I will be attending Princeton University next year as an English major with a focus in creative writing, as well as a minor in Asian American studies. I hope to merge the two to one day write diasporic literature with a particular amplification of Sikh and Punjabi voices. I joined Here Story because I hope to influence and advocate for stronger curricula in Asian American history across the state of Connecticut. I will be a member of the education team. The main project I have in mind is to feature Asian American narratives, experiences, and cultures in book collections across the state by partnering with public libraries to highlight such works. I hope Here Story will benefit from new members interested in empowering Asian American teens in Connecticut through avenues such as social media outreach, writing curricula, amplifying literary voices, and more.
So I was originally born in California in San Francisco to two Indian parents. My mom's from Tamil Nadu and my dad's from Gujarat. And I was brought up as a Hindu. I'd attend temple all the time with my family. I would pray nightly. I would talk to my grandparents on the phone about Hindu mythology and the Bhagavad Gita and all these things. But despite my Hindu upbringing, I was predisposed to say no or to challenge any sort of authority that was in my life. So, whatever my parents or my teachers told me to do, I would do the exact opposite because I was just that stubborn. And so that predisposition for no manifested itself in sixth grade when I announced that I was going to be an atheist, and my parents were devastated. But I felt that I was too important for religion. I thought, how could we possibly believe in this power that we have no scientific evidence of? And so I spent the next few years distanced from this community, this Hindu community that I hadn't even realized was a huge part of my life. And I felt alone. I would sit at weddings or at my grandparents' house and watch as people, would engage with each other in beautiful clothes, eating beautiful food, and speaking beautiful languages. And my grandpa would have all of our cousins gathered around in a circle telling stories of baby Krishna, these stories that I'd grown up myself hearing when I was sitting on his lap as, a 3-year-old. And it made me alone. And I realized that what religion really meant to me wasn't so much about the actual belief in this figure or these mythologies or these deities that were taught in these sacred texts, but it was about the community that I had been a part of. It was about the power of having a group of people that shared these same principles, that shared these same morals, and out of those beliefs, out of those shared beliefs, the beautiful culture and the traditions that were sprung from there. And so I was taught, not just the Hindu community, but the Indian community, the Asian community. I was taught that that was an integral part of my life. And it was really, really important to me. And that stuck with me since then. And it was something that really drew me to Here Story. The first thing that stuck out to me that got me interested in being a part of the Here Story project was the opportunity to take a part in developing the new curriculum, the AAPI mandated curriculum. And after that, I've learned about a bunch of the ventures that Here Story is going to be working on too. So my interests have expanded beyond that. Right now, I'm on team outreach. So I'm helping out, reaching out to organizations, to universities across Connecticut, setting up the events we have planned. I'm also going to help out with building the educational, the creative outlets that Here Story is going to provide. The main thing, though, I have been working on is building the website. You guys can all find that at, I think it's herestoryproject.org. But that's going to be the main hub for sort of everything we got going on. In terms of my vision for Here Story in the future, I think that we have this incredible ability. We sit at this incredible position to help build a space for AAPI students to both embrace their differences, but also feel like a true American in their classrooms. And what I mean by that is I think one of the things that America struggles with the most in terms of minority groups is toggling this balance between difference and sameness. Obviously, we all want a world where everyone's respecting each other and valuing each other as the same, no matter where you come from. But also, we want a world where we're embracing all of our beautiful, rich backgrounds, and there's value in us being different from each other. And I think the problem is that, we grew up in English and history classes, we'll learn about, the Irish immigrants and the German immigrants, and we think of them all as Americans. We think of them as an integral part of our American identity. And so even though we respect and understand and value all of their different paths to getting to America, we think of them as, a part of this body of American people. But the way that Asian American history is taught is not the same. And if it is taught at all. And so I think what I dream of is being able to have a curriculum and being able to have an overall community in Connecticut that's going to make Asian American students and Pacific Islander students feel like they are an American, but that they also have this incredible, rich, unique background that doesn't make them different in a bad way, but different in a beautiful way. And so I think that's my main, vision for Here Story down the road. In terms of why I think everyone should join, I think one of the things that the Here Story Project provides is incredible connections. We are a direct conduit to programs like Yale students and faculty, to UConn students and faculty, SCSU, to programs like Make Us Visible, even to the state government itself. We have those connections, and there's so much value in having that because we'll hear your voice. We hear every individual member's voice, and we're able to take those voices to the top officials, the top experts, the top scholars in this field in Connecticut.
Formally, I started to engage with the AAPI movement during the pandemic when we saw a rise in violence targeting individuals from the AAPI community. I realized that in order to reverse the rhetoric towards our community, I would need to make my voice and other voices from our community heard. However, the real start to my passion for AAPI work comes from the way my grandma raised me with 3 central values: culture, acceptance, and service. Her stories inspire my work with refugee and immigrant youth of all backgrounds. When I was younger, I was often afraid to reach out for help or raise my voice when I felt there was a need for change. I felt I did not have role models of my identity around me or a space to voice my concerns without being discredited for my identity. I joined Hear Story because I want to create a resource I often found myself looking for. I believe that Hear Story can help create a platform for those often unheard voices by creating a safe space for them. It is a way to continue my work with youth by uplifting youth voices in my own community. With my focus on outreach, I hope to grow our community so that we can reach more members and voices to increase our impact. I aspire to help combat this stereotype of the AAPI community as a monolith, one youth voice at a time, understanding the unique backgrounds that they come from. That shift starts with each of us, and joining our vision at Hear Story is a step towards that.
Welcome to Hear Story,